So we've discovered you need a good lease, you need a good, strong team, keep your production high, and you may need to incorporate. Now let's get into phase 2, the process of selling. This is your professional team, right? How many people know these guys here? Yeah? All right. Dave, who am I among these guys here? You better say Ness. You better say Elliot Ness. That's right. I don't even know the names of the other guys. I just know Lubisa's Sean Connery.
Sean Connery?
Yeah, she's Sean Connery, and I'm Elliot Ness. And George is that shorter guy with the shotgun. You see that? Yeah. Appraisal. You guys have seen an appraisal. This was a real appraisal. We blacked out some stuff, but you've got one. It's being passed around. That's good. Letters of intent. We've talked about them. Lubisa, quickly, what's a letter of intent?
Basically, it's a non-binding document, except for the part that says for exclusivity. Basically, it just gives the very general outline of how the purchaser will purchase your practice, whether they want you to associate how they want to structure the purchase, so a share or an asset purchase, what they're going to do with employees, very general, broad thing.
We've seen really bad letters of intent, like think napkins with 2 signatures and a purchase price on it. And they bring this to us, and we're supposed to make an entire deal happen based on a napkin with a number and 2 signatures. So we encourage people to put together good, proper letters of intent. Here's the good news. Purchasers can go to our website and put together very comprehensive letters of intent. I mean, this thing should spit out a 3, 5, 7, 15-page letter of intent. It's got lots of options, lots of flexibility. And it's a great way, because when you pass it to the lawyers, the accountants, the bankers, the realtors, everybody sees the full scope of the deal that's about to unfold versus a napkin. Due diligence. I like this guy. Reminds me of George in some ways. But the purchasers are going to be, as George mentioned, looking through your books, looking under the rugs, and doing some due diligence. So what kind of due diligence are they going to do, Lubisa?
We'll look at the staff contracts for sure.
So this is when we represent the purchasers, right?
Yes.
Okay, what else? So all your staff contracts, if you have any, we're going to go through them with a fine-tooth comb. What else?
We'll be looking at the lease, of course, always the lease, things like that.
The charts?
Charts.
Chart audit. We had an interesting situation where a deal died because the number of charts represented in the appraisal was actually 50% more than what was revealed during a chart audit. So be careful. I mean, you will, as sellers, be asked to make promises about the number of charts, and there are court cases where there's discrepancies and people pay big bucks for a chart. So that's where the real value, the goodwill of the dental practice lies, in the number of active patients, right? George, what would you define as an active patient? Someone who has?
Comes into the practice at least once a year.
Once a year. And this definition varies, right? Ken, have you seen different definitions of active patient?
I've seen it extend out longer, 18 months probably.
18 months? Yeah.
But typically it's about
18 months.
Right.
Twice.
Yeah. So
Once a year.
when we represent the purchasers, we go with George's definition because it's more conservative. If we represent the sellers, we tell the purchasers, go do your due diligence. You're not getting any promises from us. So do your own diligence. Don't hold us to it, right? Equipment inspection. We have heard that if you don't do an equipment inspection and you don't have a list of the equipment, so you guys should, in the appraisal, as part of George's appraisal, he'll have all that out for you. But there are some people who don't use brokers, who don't get equipment lists, who don't have an equipment inspection as part of their diligence. Guess what? Stuff's missing on the day of the closing. Pans are gone. Chairs are not what they were represented as. The selling dentist moves out and takes some stuff with him or her. Okay? So the purchaser, with good teams of lawyers, will do equipment inspections. They'll have an equipment inspector in there. Sometimes, they'll discover things that need to be fixed. It knocks a few bucks off of the purchase price. It's not a lot, right? What else?
Minute books.
Minute books, yes.
We'll also look at minute books.
If the seller is selling shares, because they want to save all those taxes on the lifetime capital gains exemption, Lubisa gets the minute book, and then what do you make sure?
I make sure everything's there. I make sure it's all up to date. I make sure that the shares that are going to be sold are actually there. Make sure that it's all up to snuff. Otherwise, we're sending it back and it has to get redone or refinished, or there's lots of investigation that has to happen. If a minute book is neglected for 20, 30 years and nothing has happened, now you have to do investigation. Now this takes a lot of time and money and effort to redo.
So it could delay the closing.
Could delay, yeah. There's a
Right.
lot of-
So due diligence. Okay. Formal agreements. George mentioned at the beginning of our presentation he's had the pleasure, I think you used the word pleasure, of seeing one of our agreements. We are anal when it comes to our agreements. We think our agreements are the best. We are so in love with our own agreements that we prefer to draft all of the agreements, even the ones for the other side, because they may not be dental lawyers and they may slow down the deal. So we just draft everything and we say, here it is, sign. And typically, 9 times out of 10, that works. So formal agreements like your asset purchase agreement, your share purchase agreement, your associate agreement, if you're going to be staying on afterwards to associate, those are all the formal agreements that have to get transferred over. Okay, closing. George, you've been to our office before, right? Is that your arm in the picture, by the way, George? No. I'm a tequila snob, as you can all tell now. I like high-end tequila. The only bottle that you can actually find in Canada is the one on the very right. You see the blue? I actually won't drink that one because it's not good enough. But Lubisa was kind enough to bring it back from Vegas, thinking that it was the one beside it. So what happens is on the closing, we get all of our clients to sign away, and then they drink. It's not the other way around. We can't have any alcohol influence signatures. So,
Legally.
yeah.
Can't do that.
But no, that's our office, and I'm a tequila guy. So if anybody ever wants to get Lubisa or myself anything, we accept payment in tequila. And again, back to the cash. So now there's the closing, there's signatures, there's papers being shuffled around. Everything seems good. If we're representing the purchaser, we'll go to Dave, we'll get the money, and we'll pull it out of our bank account, stuff it in the back of Lubisa's car. This is the back of Lubisa's car. And we'll drive it over to the vendor's lawyers, and we'll dump it. And after all the paperwork is done and the money has been transferred, deal's closed. Is it a done deal at that point?
Not really, no.
We've got some post-closing stuff to deal with. How many of you guys have seen Office Space? Ken, you've seen Office Space, right?
I actually haven't.
Oh, okay. So think of the worst boss ever. There he is. And the idea is if you're associating afterwards, guess what? You're no longer the boss. You may have to be this gentleman on the right reporting to Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so. So that's an interesting dynamic. Also post-closing, you've got all sorts of time on your hands. So maybe you want to come to our dance event, right? June the 7th. Let us know. It's in Toronto, so it's
You
a
can
trek
see
away.
Michael and his wife dance.
We'll be dancing. It's free food, it's free entertainment, and that's Perul over there on the left. So she's a traditional Indian dancer, classic Indian dance. I do Latin dance. We've got a flamenco dancer. There's some ideas after you've closed and you're trying to figure out what to do. Maybe come to Bermuda with us. Drink some high-end tequila on a beach. Or maybe come to Turks. Or maybe come to Palm Springs with George. Right, George? We had a lot of fun this year, right, in Palm Springs, George? I mean, I had a lot of fun. I think you witnessed me having a lot of fun. But did you yourself have fun, George? That's
Yes,
the
I got to play golf, Michael, and that's,
George has this thing where he makes
after that, it doesn't matter.
George has this thing where he makes fun of me because of the way I play golf. Should I demonstrate, George?
Why don't you?
Okay, so there's two things in this world that I hate, absolutely hate. I hate golf, but worse than golf is I hate sucking at golf. So I play a lot of golf. And George makes fun of me because I'm trained to basically think of all the 80 different things that go through your mind, and I take my time, and I'm adjusting and thinking, and he's just like, he's impatient. So I love playing with him. And the final thing is, how many of you guys have heard of Tesla cars? Yeah? They're pretty cool cars. Got to get one. Electric cars, they're oh, this is George's imitation of me. There we go. This is better. There we go. But guess who was the best player on the team other than George? It was me. I don't. That looks about right. There you go. And then.
Oh, you
Is it okay?
Is that
Can I do
okay?
now? Can I-
Yeah.
No, okay.
So if you guys play golf and want to see this, invite me out. Yes.
Looks like a lot of fun.
Tesla cars, they're great. Yeah. David, do you know anything about Teslas?
They are
Pure electric. They can go about 400, I think, kilometers on a charge. They're great. We closed the deal. I handed the dentist a check for, I don't know, $600,000. And he was obsessed with Tesla. This is before they became what they are now. This is about a year and a half ago. He said, Mike, you got to buy a Tesla, buy a Tesla, buy a Tesla. I said, why? So we closed this deal, handed him a check. The next day he says, I finally did it. I bought a Tesla. I said, good for you. You bought the car. He said, no, I bought the shares. And the shares were trading at around $30, $35 a share. Does anybody know what they're trading at now about a year and a half later? Any clue? This is 200. So I missed out on that one. Yeah. So the next time a dentist has an obsession with some stock, I'm going to invest blindly. I don't even care at this point because I missed out and he's laughing it up. Anyways, I think he actually made the equivalent of what we gave him based on his investment. That's how much it was. So thank you guys. If you have any questions about anything we've talked about, Lubisa and I are here. All right?